Welcome to the GTM Reset podcast. This is the audio edition of the salesXchange live show for CEOs and revenue leaders who already suspect that the standard business-to-business growth model is no longer fit for purpose. If your MarTech stack keeps growing, activity stays high, but revenue is still slow, costly, or unpredictable, this series is for you. Each episode explores what comes after traditional go-to-market thinking and what it means to replace fragmented activity with a new business operating system. This episode was originally broadcast as a live stream, so if Nigel refers to diagrams, frameworks, or on-screen illustrations, you can watch the full version using the link in the description. So let's get started.
Well, this is show 7, and welcome. This should be a fairly interesting show, and it's kind of, I suppose, like a transitional show. The previous shows have had lots of slides and so on, and we'll still do that for the future. But today, we've got quite a serious point. I've got a few slides and stats to show you a bit later. But the critical point is the realization and confirmation of something I've instinctively felt and been working on for the past, 3 years. And now it's been verified. And I think, I'll just get my buttons right, I think it'll probably stop most CEOs in their tracks. Because the title of today's show is Campaign Thinking versus Continuous Infrastructure. And I want to start by telling you why those words are sitting opposite each other rather than next to each other. Because for the past 70 years or so, B2Bs have been told to think in campaigns. Of course we have. Quarterly pushes, like product launches, demand gen sprints, all that kind of stuff with ABM cycles. You plan it, run it, measure it, and declare a result. And then move on to the next one. And every B2B in the country is doing it. And every B2B is getting roughly the same outcome, yeah? Kind of, I would say, modest gains, maybe. Occasional spikes, maybe. And a constant feeling that you're running to stand still. And so continuous infrastructure is something different. And it's what happens when you stop running campaigns and you build a system that operates every day. Yeah, in front of your entire market. And it doesn't stop. There's no start date, there's no end date, there's no quarterly review, nothing like that. It's just constant, scaled visibility. And the reason I want to talk about it today is that I've been doing this continuous infrastructure model for about, 3 years. And we've got some interesting numbers that have come in now. And so this isn't a theoretical show. So it's not me saying, oh, what you should do is this should work. This is me showing you what does work with the data, with the screenshots, and with the receipts. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you what most B2B advisors won't, which is if you keep following the herd is going to take you off a cliff. And that there most definitely is another way. And if you don't know already, my name's Nigel Main. I spent 40 years in direct B2B sales and marketing. I run salesXchange, and I'm going to walk you through exactly why campaign thinking has been a structural mistake, and what this continuous infrastructure looks like in practice. And why the proof for all of it is actually sitting on my own LinkedIn account, my own download data, and Google's own AI. So let's just get into it at the end of the day. And like I said before with the different the shows before, they were kind of, I suppose, really quite slide driven. Here we've got a couple of cameras, which is I'm not going to do all the switching throughout this because it takes me off track and so on. But the bottom line is that bit on the tech side, 2 cameras, both recording independently. And when I do the video and I do the editing later, I'll be able to cut between 2 cameras. So that's it. That's how it's going to work. But the reality is that your market does not know you exist. It's a fact. And it's a serious point because it really, really matters. Because you and I, we think about our businesses, 24/7? The market doesn't. And if they did know you existed, per se, what percentage do you think you're connecting with on a regular basis? See, most businesses attempt to get in front of a prospect or try and achieve that one prospect at a time with BDRs, SDRs, telesales. One call, one click, one ad. But the bottom line is you selected the product. You selected your market. No one else did. You know, it's like you and I, we chose this life. Yeah, the market didn't choose us, didn't choose you. So the bottom line is we're kind of setting the scene here. And so it's like time to go back on the attack. And so the question is, how much of your total addressable market do you actually reach? And the critical problem for most businesses is that we simply can't weather the storm, any storm. Our exposure and our effort happens one company at a time, one prospect at a time, one call at a time, one pay-per-click, one advert at a time. And it's absolute madness. I mean, when you think of all the technology we've got right at our fingertips. And here's the best way to put it, really. You're the entrepreneur, not the marketing department. And you've got to think about that. And the fact that the same resources and the same mechanisms keep getting used year after year points to zero creativity, zero effort, and people just going through the motions month in, month out. That's it. And this is the point where I had to stop and realise, oh crap, what have we been doing? Because there's a structural failure in this B2B model we've got. But the first thing is you've got to be aware that it's not all doom and gloom, because everything can change and quite spectacularly. But before that, you've got to understand not just understand, but also compare the mechanisms and the mechanics and the ratios of new business development. And I'm not talking about the stats that you've been given for the past decade. Because as CEOs, we have got to challenge it. Yeah? It just makes sense. You have to know it for yourself. And then once you do know what's going on, exactly what's happening, you go, well, what if? But I'm not going to talk about like blue sky thinking or 50,000 foot helicopter view. I'm saying, imagine if your business really did start to fly. I know there's a bit of a pun there, but what if it really did kick off? And if you do challenge everything, the outcome is going to be a thriving and secure company, achieving greater success than you've ever experienced before. Or you can say, no, it's all valid. No, we want to stay as we are. Everyone's comfortable with the status quo. You know, my team are happy for me to carry the can. And if, like the 85,000 businesses that went bust in the past 12 months, you lose everything, your entire team will walk away into new jobs, and you probably won't. I mean, if you know, I know it's a bit intense, yeah. But if we look at this, you know, you look at the technology curve. That's what keeps happening in terms of technology. Yeah. And you might think, well, what Nigel's going to start going into is some kind of technology adoption and what have you. Nope. Yeah, the whole curve is all about early adopters, late majority, all that kind of thing. It's not about that. And it's not about buying the same technology that's been around or just dressed up differently. This is about a fundamental change, how we as B2Bs approach and generate new business to properly thrive, not just survive. Yeah, and that's what the problem is. Everyone's in survival mode, and so the system or systems that we were sold, yeah, it's quite easy to see how us B2Bs have been conditioned. This is where it starts getting interesting, I think, because we have to think how we as B2Bs present ourselves to our markets. If we look back over the past few decades, it's possible to chart exactly what we have been told or how we've been told to sell, not just market our business, but all of it. I mean, every step of the way, B2Bs have been led, misled, cajoled, intimidated, and virtually ridiculed into buying into the whole MarTech machine, this whole ecosystem. A while ago, I've got another slide up here. Let me just go into... did I put it in here? I think I did. The Hall of Fame, yeah? 30,000 MarTech platforms. A while ago, there was this study done. There were 30-odd thousand MarTech platforms or software platforms around, yeah? In terms of SaaS. And of those 30,000, half of them were MarTech. Wonder why that is. And that was before the whole AI explosion. And so when you look at this, if you look on top of that kind of, let's go back to there. On top of all that, if you look at, there are universities, university degrees, diplomas, YouTube channels, podcasts, and websites by the million, and every one of them, whether they're saying exactly the same thing or not, no one asks why. The fact that they are saying the same thing all the time. Whether you watched it or not, Mad Men, okay, which stood for marketing, advertising and design. So consumer marketing, it's got its own TV series, films like with Mel Gibson and Holly Hunter, you know, and What Women Want. Every show, every series, every podcast about marketing reinforces the imposed and expected narrative. And that's what you're expected to do. And people in the marketing software companies engage with and court the employees in the companies who are called CMOs, Chief Marketing Officers, and their respective marketing teams. And those marketers, in turn, communicate and advise CEOs who then agree to part with large sums of money to keep the marketing machine going. You know it's true. All under the assumption that they, as the marketers, are being told the truth, and that the strategies and tactics are all verifiable. Yeah, they can all be proven. But here's a $60,000 question: verifiable to whom? And this is kind of the latest research reveals that business marketing, pretty much every business marketing organisation, has got marketing automation. They've got the same software, different manufacturers, but ostensibly every business is the same. You have to think about that. So not just your competition, every B2B, same platforms, same kit, same approach, same strategy. So you've got to look at that kind of cookie cut infrastructure. You've got the same repeatable strategies, the same tactics, transferred from one company to the next, either by marketing personnel changing jobs or new businesses appointing CMOs at the time of startup. It doesn't really matter. I mean, either way, the strategies don't change. So you've got what? Eloqua, Pardot, Marketo, HubSpot. And yet we still hope to pull a rabbit out of the hat, make a big splash. At least beat the competition. I mean, you know, got to have some success somewhere. But just think, every business is set up identically from both a technological, strategic and tactical perspective. So today's show title is like campaign thinking versus continuous infrastructure. Is going to be confusing to most sales-related people, but marketers will probably be the first to dismiss what we're saying because it challenges their entire existence. At the end of the day, you employ marketers. You employ these people to keep it going. All of it going. So it would be inconceivable to have something deliver a continuous infrastructure. I mean, people would be thinking, well, what does that even mean? I mean, we know what we'd like it to mean, like constant, like a money-making machine. But is it even possible? That's kind of the question you've got to ask. Is it possible? And the answer is a resounding yes. I'll come on to that in a minute. But the important message right now is simply for you to challenge the existing thinking and the existing status quo. You have to. Because in actual fact, there's something very wrong with B2B marketing. And the only people it's serving is the marketing industry and its advocates, who are your marketing teams, your employees, and the go-to-market teams who are just getting paid. But this is my opinion, but I think they're quietly destroying B2Bs, whether they know it or not. So the thing is that we've been delivered the illusion of data and activity, yeah? And it was, the bottom line is, it was consumer thinking dressed up and applied to B2Bs. We've all understood, right, that social media is a big part of the business, the whole business marketing lineup, yeah? And there are a variety of people who profess to know what the best strategies are. And a lot of those people, those marketers, will die on that hill defending what the supposed good and the great tell them. But what should you really do? If they're wrong, what should you do? And this is where it gets really interesting. Because recently, with, of course, the help of AI agents and ChatGPT and Claude and so on, I've been doing some research and can confirm that social media platforms post statistics, and while stating or mentioning B2B in all their descriptions and so on, they're consumer statistics. So firstly, I'm talking about the recommended times to post and the response rates. And even with ChatGPT's agreed, well, actually, they kind of seem more like a punt or a guess. So you've got to start, you've got to question it. So after kind of initially researching like the most kind of the popular brands and the SaaS blogs and combined and so on. So initially, when I first started doing this, I said, what should we do? What should we be doing as a business, you know, when we were using social media and so on? Excuse me. And he said, okay, well, what you need to do is here's the perfect sanitized structure, which is the 5 posts per day, and that was optimal. But did you know that LinkedIn allows one profile to post up to 20 times a day? So that's 5 posts versus 20, which is interesting. Because at this point, this is when I pushed back to GPT, and it had to agree that there were no hard and fast stats specifically for B2B. I'll come back to that in a minute. So we're kind of looking at these, I suppose, traditional methods, how we're all conditioned to generate new business. And I'm talking about like the futility of cold calling and the failure rate or success rate, depends which way you want to look at it, which is like 300 to 1 in finding someone that's just interested. And so we know that we absolutely know that trying to phone someone throughout the day is hit and miss. And 300 to 1 proves that. Because the person you want to speak to, if they don't pick up, they're on holiday, gone to the loo, in a meeting, busy, making coffee, doing anything other than answering the phone. And I think at the end of the day, if the gatekeeper doesn't get rid of you, the person you want to speak to will. I need to have a quick drink. But the odds of cold calling just abysmal. And everybody knows it. So on top of that, it's always, always, always an unwanted interruption. I won't answer them. You probably won't either. And social posts are only slightly different, but in this case, you never know when someone is going to look at their newsfeed. And we're kind of looking at LinkedIn, and if they do, when are they going to do it? When are they going to choose time to a bit of time, spend some time to read or watch or engage or download something? Who knows? No one knows. And it's become, I would say, an impossible algorithm to unpick. Not because of the technical complexity, but because everyone, every person, every business scenario, every day, there's a reason for doing something, and whatever it is. But how do you define it? Because everything and everyone's different. I mean, email's another factor in this kind of whole confusion. I can only say from our own experience, we as you probably guessed, we only focus on CEOs and leaders, and our opening click rate bears no resemblance to the statistics we see from every major service provider. And as is massively high, thank goodness. I mean, what can we say? Thank goodness. We don't pester people, but we when we send them out, we're 60-70% open rate, which is great. I'm thinking, well, that's okay. And the likes of GPT are going, whoa, wait a second, that's really spectacular. And then there's the blogs. All these really well-known people, like Neil Patel, Gary Vee, Seth Godin, who incidentally was credited with the eruption of email spam back in the day. But pretty much everything and everyone we read, see, hear is all based on consumer statistics. So it's like, what's going on here? I mean, there's this disconnect between the reality and expectation. The bottom line, sales knows it's a problem. We've always known it's a problem. Marketing don't. I mean, it might be a lot to take in, but I'm kind of throwing a load of stuff at you at the moment. But if you look at the investment industry, so we've got Dragon's Dens in the UK, and in the US there's Shark Tank. And unless you picked up on it, they're both focused on consumers. So if you look at the statistics for businesses who attract investment, so 40% fail. 80% fail to achieve their own targets, and I say 95% of the businesses fail to achieve an ROI for the investors. And this week I saw a post by Richard Farley, who was an ex-Dragon, 2000, I think, sort of 20 years ago, give or take. And he invested in Pret-a-Porter, the fashion company. And he said that they were one of 2 companies out of 120 that achieved what they set out to achieve. So mine, like 95% or 5% ROI for investors, is kind of being a bit generous. Wrong? Doesn't matter. But looking at Shark Tank and Dragon's Den, they present this kind of constant expectation of instant success and instant answers. So it's pretty much like genie in the lamp business growth. It's just this kind of expectation. And I think while there are definitely certain benefits for investors and so on, we're talking about the influences. Yeah, the media pursues the B2C environment, and if the marketing strategies and tactics are being pushed and promoted by the MarTech SaaS businesses and their advocates, so the marketing employees and the CMOs and so on, and they're all talking about applying the same approach, so it makes complete sense that going back to the investment industry, the majority of investors will see or expect to see the same infrastructures within all the businesses that they invest in. So it's a very skewed view of what's going on, and if you know every business gets tarred with the same brush. You know, Hollywood, podcast, TV, to the mass, to all the investors, according to them, we're all the same. I was told a little while ago that if you wanted to get traction on a B2B product, you should give it away for free. I mean, it's fine for a consumer product, for a pair of trainers or something, but it's not so easy for a B2B product that could cost thousands in terms of the product itself, or even just the installation or support costs. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's going to be a difference for the investors too. But not all of them understand B2B. Most do B2C because it's so popular, and it's like at the bottom of that pyramid. That's where most of the people are. But when this environment is looked at as a whole, though, there's massive disconnect. B2B is full of B2C strategies and tactics, and no one seems to have challenged them. And I know for a fact, all salespeople have always known something was off. They've always known that from their own personal experience of finding a prospect, arranging a meeting, doing the demonstration, presentation, close, absolutely bore no resemblance to the hopeful, it's the best way to put it, kind of planned marketing activity from their respective marketing departments. And so it's little wonder that there's this friction between sales and marketing teams. I say teams. Can't call them teams. They're not on the same side. And it's, to me, just marketing simply working in an environment that most people recognise from whether it's Dragon's Den or television or whatever. So employees, board directors, investors and so on, it just seems to be this big disconnect when it comes to B2B. So if we've all been influenced by film, TV, podcast, YouTube and all types of social media and all their platforms, it's absolutely little wonder that B2Bs find it tough. Or they just keep doing the same as they did 50 years ago. And its bottom line is they're not being given the full picture. They've been given the wrong statistics. So let's face it, it's not a secret. Every B2B experiences low sales and constantly desires to be super successful. But we're not selling consumer products in a shop or online. We have to go out and find a business. We have to be the catalyst to instigate new relationships. But the tragedy is, like I said, the information and data B2Bs have been given is wrong. And I know it's a bitter pill, could call it, bitter pill to swallow, but it is what it is. So we have to look at this in terms of there being, and for you and all of us to understand this fictional buyer, because you've got this kind of diagnosis if you want to look at it. And I want to give it a name. I want to give it a name for this error, because once you can name it, you can't unsee it, you can't unhear it. And the B2B marketing industry runs on the basis of this fictional buyer. So I'm serious. This is not an exaggerated buyer or an optimistic buyer, but it's just a fictional one. And it's the fictional person, this fictional character, is the CEO who reads content at 7 o'clock in the morning over breakfast. The CEO who sees a piece of content again when he gets to the office, about 9 o'clock-ish. And the one gets a third touch about 11 o'clock, over a coffee and a biscuit. And the one who's ready for like some fourth piece of long-form leadership content at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because the persona document says that's his downtime. So that CEO or senior person doesn't exist. I've done this for 40 years. Doing it and talking to CEOs, I'll tell you, they don't exist. The real CEOs are like firefighting at 11 o'clock. They're in taxis between meetings, or in a board meeting prep that's overrun or something. And if it's not any of that, they're dealing with some kind of customer escalation problem or whatever. They're anywhere except sitting calmly with a piece of B2B content in their hand, ready to be nurtured through some multi-touch journey. So it's like, okay, well, I kind of get your point, but so where does it come from then? And this is the uncomfortable bit. It comes from the people that are writing the marketing strategy. The marketing manager who projects his or her own daily activity onto the buyer. Oh, of course they're going to do this. She likes content at 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. So the CEO must like it at some point. Must got to look at his phone at some stage. She has a cup of coffee at 11 o'clock. So probably the CEO does too. She has a bit of downtime in the afternoon. So of course the CEO is going to chill out for a little bit. And it's the word is, the word is projection-based persona modeling. And it's the foundational error of the entire industry. And then you've got the issue about benchmarks, because where do they all come from? And I'm saying they're wrong. So if you think about what this, in terms of statistics that you've been given, you've seen, we're talking about the 0.5 to 1.5% click-through rate. We're talking about the 1 to 2% engagement rate. Oh, and also the best time to post is like Tuesday, 10 o'clock. You must have heard that one. And all of these numbers are aggregated from billions of pieces of content built for the fictional buyer, broadcast at the times the fictional buyer was supposed to be paying attention, and then measured against an audience of real CEOs who are doing something completely different. So the benchmarks, they don't describe how B2B buyers behave. They describe what's happening in an industry, or in an industry that talks about and talks to buyers that don't even exist. 1% engagement rate is not a B2B norm, but it's the rate at which real CEOs accidentally bump into content built for someone else. And it's also got, I mean, you've seen this, everyone's seen it now. It's got worse because of AI. I mean, I use it all the time. So it's not about one thing or another. I'm saying if you look at stuff on LinkedIn, marketers using Claude, ChatGPT, all the different SEO platforms and distribution schedulers, all to produce, one post a day, 30 posts a month. And they're calling it consistency. They're saying, oh, look at this proper productivity. The engagement rate's still 1% because the audience hasn't changed. It's a problem. All AI has done is automate the production of content aimed at the fictional buyer. And a fictional buyer is still fictional, no matter which way you put it. But the output at the kind of the generation cost, the output cost, that might have dropped. Volume's gone up, big deal. But the misalignment has just scaled with it. So the industry now is producing more content for a buyer that doesn't exist. More so now than ever in history. And that's called progress. And so here's a question. If the buyer your marketing is built for doesn't exist, who are you marketing to? Period. And if engagement rate is about 1%, is that actually a sign of a difficult market, or is it a sign that you're not actually talking to anyone in particular? Because the alternative I'm going to show you in this kind of next segment, call it a segment, is built for the buyers that do exist. The ones who want to learn anonymously and decide privately, and the ones who show up when they're ready, not at 7, 11, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but they show up when they're ready. And when you construct your marketing around buyers like that, the numbers completely different. Completely different. The important thing now is like setting the scene. And when I say setting the scene, I'm talking about, you have to bear with me on this, because some of this stuff is quite fresh to me, because it was like war. And that's why I did a slightly different, wanted to do a slightly different presentation and be kind of much more direct, instead of, I can do this and put this up and change this and all these type of things. But I just wanted to communicate this without getting distracted from all the other stuff. Proof. You want proof. So I've just told you that that buyer that the industry is marketing to doesn't exist. And so switch places, and I'd turn around and say, okay, Nigel, prove it. Prove there's another buyer that exists. So I'll do that. That's best. I best do that without messing around. So what I'm saying is that consumer logic was applied to a market. It doesn't fit. And that the statistics that you've been given are wrong. That the entire industry is following a script that no one has stopped or been bothered to question. Why? Because look how many people are employed. If you've got big tech, MarTech backing you up as an employee, you keep doing it. Especially if you're being paid a salary every month. Why are you going to change? You're not going to change. And you go, okay, Nigel, yeah, it's a big claim. And you'd be absolutely right to say to me, you've got to prove it. So here's the thing. For the past 3 years, and it's not just for 3 years, it goes way back before then, but for me, everyone else is like running these campaigns. And I've been running a continuous model on our business on salesXchange. Same audience, same market, same constraints. And the only difference is that I stopped doing what the herd does and started doing what kind of the methodology, the absolute instinct says, go and do this. I don't get this. Because the point of this is that having run a businesses, different tech businesses, doing it the old school way, moving into the more modern data-driven stuff, I got to the point 10 years ago or so. This is nonsense. I don't believe you. I don't believe what marketing people are saying. I can't believe. I refuse to believe it. It doesn't make sense. It just does not make sense to me. So what do? You don't just go and berate everybody that you come into contact with. Okay, then prove it. Do it yourself. So I did it myself. And that's where this is coming from. So it's not coming from, well, you've never run a company, you've never employed anybody, and so on. It's like I had 40 people max. But even then, with all the stuff that happens to us as CEOs, we have family grief, we have health grief, we have life grief. Literally. So my daughter died, I had a quadruple bypass and got divorced. Yeah? So I've got some T-shirts here. And so the point is looking at this and going, okay, so what have you got then? Yeah. So let me go. I'm just going to get the right one up, because I changed the sequence in my slides and I messed it up. Where is it? Where's my LinkedIn? I've put my glasses on first. I think I found it. Here we go. So the slide I'm putting up, for those of you that are listening to this on a podcast. I was doing some analysis on Claude, and I said, what do you think about these figures? And it went, oh, they're really good, but it's only for a month. You'd need more information than that. I went, oh, okay. So then I posted up this one, which was 3 months. 20,000 impressions, reached 7,000 members, and 1,700 engagements. I'm just, and it said, I'll get around to what it said. So bearing in mind, so my account's got 2,700 connections. So you've got 20,000 impressions, 1,113 reactions, and 521 comments. That's an 8% engagement rate. The average for B2B on LinkedIn is 1 to 2%. Top quartile is 3 to 5%. So 8% is the kind of number you see on like highly engaged thought leader profiles, thought leadership type profiles. Not some B2B founder talking about marketing infrastructure, right? And our comment to reaction ratio is 1 to 2.1. Again. And B2B norm is 1 to 8 or 1 to 10, which means people aren't just tapping, doing a thumbs up. They're stopping, thinking, typing, making comments. And comments, as you probably are aware, comments are the most expensive engagement an audience can ever give you. And we're getting them at 4 or 5 times typical rate. You have to think about this. Yeah, I'm not, we're not some 1,000-person company. You've absolutely got to think about this. The other part about these stats, this morning, because I did this yesterday. I thought, what about this? And then I thought, well, I'm going to do this. I didn't have time to do it, but if you know how to get these stats off your LinkedIn profile, you can do 7 days, 28 days, 90 days, and 365 days. So I did the 365 days, and they were better than this. And Claude's going, well, wait a second. You've just proven this over 12 months, not just a month or some kind of blip in someone's, in some weekly, monthly, quarterly process that you had a bit of a spike. This is 12 months, and the comparison is the previous 12 months. So I thought, well, that's cool. And there's a bit more. So we did this campaign, and it's our what we call a revenue reset series, GTM reset series, and it's a 3-part series that talks about the GTM reset, which is the same name as our new YouTube channel, and it talks about the problem, the revenue problem landscape, and the way to look at an audit. How you kind of look at the audit. So 8 weeks ago we started this, just over 8 weeks ago. And I just need to check, because I looked at it this morning. Hang on. That says 807 there. Let me just do a bit of... let me just have a look at this and see what it says on right now. It might be a bit different, might not be. Sometimes it goes up. The other week it went up 140 downloads on the same day, which kind of surprised me somewhat. Let's have a look at this. Wrong date, wrong start date. Start there, go OK, and the end date is today. Save that. 816 is today's figure. 816 downloads in 8 weeks. Think about that. They're all tracked individually because I know how of which download. So we have different images that link to different downloads and so on. So I know exactly what image is successful over another and which specific downloads have been downloaded. And the main one, the landscape one, is the highest one, which is 190. So you're thinking, well, they must be lucky. You've got to think about the industry. The industry click-to-download rate for B2Bs for gated content, although this isn't, sits between 0.5% and 1.5%. We're running at 15%. It's like 10 to 20 times the benchmark. And this isn't a one-off campaign. Like I said, the system that's delivering this, I've had running for 3 years. And the way that we've structured this is that we've got 8 tracks. Each track has got 30 posts. So it's 240 unique post variants because we use a continuous rotation, and it's generated through a Python pipeline that ensures every post is fresh enough to defeat, if you want to call it that, LinkedIn's duplicate content suppression. That made sense. It's just lots of different stuff going out being generated without having to do it manually. So we're posting like 20 times a day, every day for 3 years. That is what continuous infrastructure looks like. It's not a campaign. It's not some kind of sprint or some fluke process. It's just a system. When I'm asleep. And I just want to add this in because I did this morning because I didn't, I'm kind of thinking, oh, okay, well, Claude's kind of a bit surprised with this. So when I do a live show, and it's for 2 reasons. The first reason is to show up. Business is all about showing up. And so you've got to keep showing up. Otherwise people forget about you, right? We confirmed that earlier. So you've got to keep showing up. Also, it demonstrates, maybe 3 things. It kind of demonstrates it's not just showing up, it shows the ability, authenticity, vulnerability, just being real to a potential audience, to a prospective audience. And then there's the delivery of the actual information, because it does change. Of course it changes. It changes in every industry all the time. And we're covering new ground, so it's challenging because you've got to write it up and think about it and understand what you're going to do in the first place. So I take these live shows and then I convert them to a video and put them on our the GTM Reset YouTube channel. And then I clip them up. You might have seen Stephen Bartlett do this, and lots of people do this. So the salient points, good bits. So I highlight those salient points. And at the moment, we've only got the clips going from the first 5 shows, and they're being output on LinkedIn. I haven't processed them properly through YouTube yet. But the important thing is, I'm extracting shorts, okay, and I started the shorts a month ago. We've got 2, they're small channels, tiny channels. I mean, there's only 100 no, not even that. There's like 40, 50 people connected to salesXchange. Admittedly, I've got some more. They're more on Nigel Main, and 3 on the GTM Reset. So 1 month. Let's get this right. 1 month, 2 small channels, and 2 weeks with an even smaller channel. I've had 18,000 views, which equates to 38.5 hours watch time. And you probably are aware that anything that you do on YouTube is compound, so it grows over time. So we're a new business development business, advisor, infrastructure company. We're not consumers. We're not influencers. We're not Mr. Beast. But you can see where this is going. We're talking SME to SME, or you could be enterprise, doesn't matter. But what visibility are you getting on a weekly basis? That's an average of people spending like 7 minutes looking at what I'm talking about. And it's like, I am scratching my head here, honestly. So then there's Google. And you'll be thinking, oh, well, because you must have it sussed on Google too. No, it's kind of more interesting than that. I want to do, I go Incognito. So you understand about Incognito. So Claude says to me, okay, well, look at Incognito, see what it's got to say. So it surprised me, and it actually surprised Claude too. So on instruction, I went into a Incognito window on Google and Chrome and typed B2B operating system into Google. And what's on the screen now is Google's AI with an overview, defining the entire category, citing salesXchange 13 times. I've got 2 side panels of salesXchange assets. First organic position, 2 out of 4 featured videos, and there are paid ads on there from SalesLoft, Infor, Monday.com and Sage, appearing next to our organic result. So these established companies are paying Google to appear on a category that we seem to be, according to the vocabulary, that we're dominating. And we built that completely for free. And Google this is the special bit. Google is using our own product modules that we've got, like SX Reach, SX Live, SX Connect and Ops, as the generic vocabulary for this category. And you can't pay. I didn't pay for it. You can't pay for it. We don't run an SEO agency or anything like that. We don't chase backlinks or all that kind of stuff. I just kept our infrastructure running for 3 years and maintained our own website content generation. And at some point during this, they've made it the canonical source, the definitive source. So there you have it. So, you campaigns rent attention. Doing campaigns, you just rent attention. But if you've got infrastructure, you own it. So you go, okay, so what should we do? What should we do? If come on. I'm not saying that we've got all the answers, because we haven't. But I am doing something about it, and even just not following everybody else, is a good place to start. But at the end of the day, I've been analysing this for years. We're testing kind of different angles, different tech, different behavioural responses to to businesses and from businesses, and looking at, you could say, like ideal strategies that would suit prospects. In other words, the CEOs and buyers that we all want to sell to. I mean, you could say it's quite easy, because it's me just thinking, okay, well, look inwards. You've got to look inwards and understand what you're doing, why you're doing it. Why do I like something? Why do I not like something? What would I do in this kind of situation? What do I like and dislike? What's my reaction? Because the only reason anybody looks at something for our business is to determine if there's going to be a definitive ROI. And if there isn't an ROI, get lost. I'm busy. I'm not interested. As you can see, like the typical campaign thinking is predicated on the consumer market. And technology and pretty much every historic strategy has always been thought of as being reasonably accurate. So the inference is that any kind of failure must be, it's got to be the market. Or it's actually your product is rubbish. Or it's sales related. It's never the strategy. That's it. It's just never the strategy. Nobody ever looks there. And it's about repetition, scale and control. And the factors that come into play for continuity and the reasons to pursue it are decades old. They've just never been exploited in B2B. So you have to start with repetition because it's the foundation. But it's got to be effortless. You need to let your total addressable market know that you exist. And to do that, you've got to define or establish a method of continuously connecting with them. And so here's something to think about. Say your total addressable market is about 10,000 companies. And if you think about scale, you can only ever reach them by broadcasting. You can't do it any other way. It's physically impossible. You can't call them one at a time, even though everybody's been trying, just to see if they're interested or not. You'll never get there. Not ever. The maths don't work. We know they don't work. And if you watched last week, we did a calculation and it was just absolutely mad. It costs way too much to keep salespeople busy. You need too many BDRs. Go back to 300 to 1. So the whole foundational and initial objective needs to be to teach your total addressable market. They need to know why your product can impact their business. And then they need to be taught how they can implement, execute, and achieve the results that you're saying they can achieve. And to do that, they need to be allowed to self-serve, self-educate, calculate the ROI, and when they're ready, they contact you and they allow them to book a meeting with you directly in their time. Because if they can't learn anonymously, the buyers, and you know this yourself, it's just that ambivalence creeps in when anyone tries to engage with them, especially if they can learn from someone else and they've been being pestered by salespeople. And this way, if you've provided open access content, by the time they contact you, I can't say this enough, they already know, like, and trust you. All you need to be concerned with is, because they're maintaining the same professionalism that they experienced when they first saw your website, saw you online, video or live or whatever. Because we're looking at this continuous infrastructure from an operational perspective. So all you need to do is orchestrate the influx of appointments. And as long as you can route them to the salespeople wherever they are, could be nationally or anywhere in the world really, but based upon their availability and technical ability and so on. But the critical point is to grasp this change. Before we try to contact our total addressable market one at a time, you need to be in a position to be able to communicate with them at scale every week. You got to, because it could be, if you think about it, you could reach 10, hundreds, thousands. Who knows? Who cares? It's not something to worry about, because if you've got this continuous repetition, you have a continuous, repetitive industry infrastructure, and you're constantly seen every day. You're able to educate every day. You're basically open to the possibility of, or I heard it say, you're open to the danger of selling and meeting new prospects every day. And that's why we're in business. That's why we do this selling thing. In the States, people love salespeople. Over in the UK, not so much. But the first place to start, and this is where it starts, I want you to take note. You don't have to do anything. You can just go on, interesting, move on. But the first place to start is to make sure you and your go-to-market team are all working together and pulling in the same direction. And that everybody understands the nature of the problem. And for everybody to understand what the new solution looks like. And I honestly, I cannot stress this problem. It's like the seriousness of this and how important it is for there to be a catalyst for change in B2B. And not just B2B, but the whole thing to do with new business. And that's why we created a course. It's only a first kind of a first phase stage. So we created this course. So you go, okay, well, fine. Here's the pitch. It's not pitch. I'm not going to segue into some kind of pitch for the course, but it's a game changer though, and you have to think about this. It's like a mental reset for B2B new business development, and it's what BizDev needs. It absolutely needs it desperately, and especially in the current economic climate. Yeah. So the bottom line is, we have all been told what to do or encouraged to do the same thing, which is a 70-year-old strategy. You think about it. Cold calls, one-to-one exposure, adverts that we hopefully that will work. It's not good enough. It's got to change. It has to change. And it can, right now. But and as I hope I've put across, it's not going to take you years of research and testing because we've done it. But the pressure in business and in marketing is intense and deliberate. And we all simply follow, or you could say have followed, our marketing teams. Like I said at the beginning, they're not the entrepreneurs. They're employees to do a job. And it's, you as a CEO, you've got enough stuff to think about. You don't need to become a new, CEO and CMO. But if you're like me, and you look at new business development, and you look at what it costs when it comes to all the marketing, all the ad costs, SaaS costs, recruitment fees, the marketing salaries, 80, 100, 150k, 200k, whatever, and all the other departmental costs that relate to it. But for what? Ends up being like last year's performance or worse. It's actually someone else's performance because they're copying the place where they came from before they came to you. And so it has been, and it is virtually impossible to move the needle because we've been sold a pup. We've been, and I say we've been misled. And we believe the only way to grow is by, employing more people, getting investment, or bugger it, let's just sell out and move on. Another thing as well is customer success. See how many customer success jobs there are? There's loads. And that's only means one or two things. A rise in lots of unhappy customers, or an increasing desperation to maintain the annual recurring revenue. Either way, simply, it's just another symptom of the underlying problem, that same problem that exists. So, looking at this, what do I want you to take away from this segment? You can call it a segment, because before we kind of move into that, what continuous infrastructure looks like for your business, you need to kind of decide what it is. And the thing is, if you look at it, you think everything I've shown, everything I've talked about, was achieved by not following the herd, not running campaigns, not buying this, not buying, kicking it out, not using the same MarTech as everyone else, not hiring all the agencies to do the SEO and demand gen. and most 100% no cold calls, no chasing leads. So did the opposite and built what we call a visibility infrastructure and just let it run. And the data, which I've shown you, shows it works 10 to 20 times beyond the industry benchmark. Same market, same competitors, all using the same platform. And I'm not saying I'm bragging or anything. I'm saying it because everyone listening or watching has been told the way for you to grow is the way the rest of the herd grows. More ads, more SDRs, more tools, more agencies, more campaigns. And the result across the B2B industry is telling you very clearly the herd's wrong. I'll put it this way. If me living up as a founder up in Stone in Staffordshire can outperform the benchmarks by an order of magnitude using a system that was most definitely designed and built for this purpose, yeah? The question isn't whether continuous infrastructure is going to work. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I mean, the only thing I can say is stop following the herd. The herd's going to walk you off a cliff. And I've just shown you. The alternative is not theoretical. It's operational. Yeah, right. Literally right now, and with the receipts. You know, you can't fake it. And so I think that you kind of bringing it together. Yeah, let's bring in this gradually into a close. The first stage that's needed for all of this is a change of thinking. You can't be thinking the same thing. And the way to achieve the stimulus for that, or catalyst, is firstly for you and then your team to do the course. It's a 30-hour CPD program, certified program, and it's the only barrier between continuing on your current path or changing your trajectory. Always get trajectory. So it's not about buying a bit of SaaS or anything like that. So get that out of your head. It's not MarTech. It's about you and your business understanding what's gone wrong and then what can be done to put it right. And that's why we created the course. So it's retraining, not training. You know, it's not about going back to basics, but it's explaining why and how the consumer strategies have influenced B2B and why they don't work, and how what the terminology we're using is how broadcast selling is the only way you can achieve the level of exposure that your total addressable market actually requires. And we show you how to align with the people that are interested, like the 16%. I mean, if I go back to that, if you look at that image, that graph, 16%. So they're the innovators and early adopters. Okay, we're good with that. That's where the profit opportunity is. That's where the enthusiasts and visionaries are. And they are the people that are constantly looking. They're the people you want to sell to. In the UK, there are 212,000 businesses that are... In the UK, there are 212,000 businesses that have 10 to 50 employees. 50 to 250, there are 38,000. And 250 and above, there are 8,000. So somewhere in that lot is your total addressable market, who you choose to sell to. Yeah. So you have your product and you've chosen to sell this product to this group of people. So if your total addressable market were 10,000, that would mean 1,600 people are looking every week at new ideas. And if you look at the rest of your competition, see what they're doing. If they ain't doing this, if they ain't broadcasting, it's an edge. A massive, massive, massive edge. And the absolute icing on the cake, I love this, best bit of the pitch. The absolute icing on the cake is you can do all of this at a fraction of your current costs. And this blows me away, because at the end of the day, this is about something that we've built, which is I've got these buttons that I press here, and I wear glasses and I don't wear glasses. But anyway, that's what the whole ecosystem looks like. We've got a course, we've got Reach, Live, Connect, Ops, and Hub. I'm not going to go into all of these, but because there's other live shows and podcasts you can listen to, and you can look at it on our website. But the bottom line is it's a complete infrastructure built for B2Bs. So it's a broadcast selling infrastructure, and it is designed to give buyers what they want, instead of giving MarTech vendors more of the same. Only basically it replaces MarTech stacks, replaces SDR teams, and all the agency relationships and so on. So you've got a single installed infrastructure. When I think about it now, I mean, it's definitely, I wish I had it 40 years ago. I wouldn't be talking to you. I'd be on my yacht or on my island somewhere. But at the end of the day, as a dyed-in-the-wool salesperson, I see this as the most impactful strategy and infrastructure that exists. And until the course and the operating system existed, well, I mean, be probably accurate to say there wasn't any alternative to, like, the marketing automation, the demand gen, lead gen, AB and pay-per-click, cold calling, followed up with cold calling. Yeah. And we're not even going to talk about, there's no point even talking about the scrape and spam. You know, even, you know, as much as I like Claude and this, that and the other, that process is amplifying an already flawed process. But now you've got an alternative. I mean, it's a different methodology, specifically for new business development. And it's based on how buyers and CEOs like you and me actually buy. That's what we do. And it's not about how marketing or MarTech would like to think that we buy. Yeah. So really, the next move's yours. We practice what we preach. We never cold call. We never will. And we broadcast, and we make everything we do available via open access. So the message really is learn first, not just you, but your team, and then see the change. Then see the enthusiasm. And then you'll understand why this approach is right, how it might reduce costs all round, and most importantly, how it flips profitability. And if and when you're ready, so are we. Always ready. So that's it. That's it for this one. I hope it made sense. I've put links in the description for the PDF downloads if you haven't already got hold of them. And there's a link in the description for, to have a look at the course website, see what you think. And there's also a sample training video for you to check it out too. It's making the effort to look at something different, that's all. And if you've got any questions, don't be shy. You can leave a message in the comments. Contact me or us directly on LinkedIn or via our website page, contact page. There's also an 0800 number on there, so you can email us, phone us. We're accessible, we're open, yeah? That's the whole point of this. And that's it. Have a great weekend. I know it's Thursday, but have a great weekend. It's bank holiday weekend on Monday, so in the UK we've got a long weekend to look forward to. So have a good one, and I'll be back next week. New show, different show. See what we've got planned for next week. Anyway, that's it from me. Bye for now.
You have been listening to the GTM Reset podcast, the audio edition of the salesXchange live show. If this episode reflects what you are seeing in your own business, the next step is to explore the model properly. Use the links in the description to watch the full video version, work through the foundational documents, and request a private strategy call if you want to see how this would apply inside your organization. Thanks for listening.